Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Rivenme.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are talking about Dune
Part 2.
Part-toon.
Part 2?
Part-toon.
We're doing Dune.
We're doing
Part 2.
Part-toon.
This is a fair representation of the movie Dune.
We're doing Part-toonin' with Harkonnen.
Oh, Harkonnen's in there. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's a slant rhyme. If you do a slight mispronunciation, it all works.
No, now I'm like desperate for other N words. I don't. Bene Gesserit doesn't
Benny,
fit in there.
yeah, Dune, Benny, Goon. No, we've lost it.
Yeah, Eminem just turned us off. He was like, they almost had it.
Want to see the Eminem tie-in song for Dune Part 2. We need it.
He did Venom.
He did Venom. He
loves a tie-in song.
He loves a tie-in song. He is available.
Well, maybe if there's a part 3. I think it's a little late now.
Yeah.
But if they get a part 3,
they
should call
the children of Dune.
I believe Dune Messiah.
Dune Messiah is part 3. Okay.
I believe.
Yeah. Although this is okay, but that's a yeah. I'm like, which ones of the books are this? This is 2, but it's 1 book. So the third book wouldn't be the third movie.
No.
It would be the second book would be the third movie.
I believe the next book is Dune Messiah, but I could be wrong.
Oh, there we go. That's what we need to get Eminem in on for.
He's known for his Dune lore.
Known for his Dune lore. Hey, if he's adding Venom lore, then why not? Let him play.
Let the man do a slant rhyme about Dune.
Let him play. So we're talking about Dune Part 2. We covered the first one when it came out. We've been covering some Villeneuve films on the podcast. We covered Arrival last week. We talked about Sicario over on the Patreon exclusive episode. So if you haven't listened to that, head over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes and you can check that out. We're talking about Dune Part 2 today. Let's start with since this is a new movie that just came out. Anytime we talk about a new property, we give you a spoiler-free review in case you're on the fence about seeing it or want a taste of the episode before you do. Then once you hear the theme music, we will be entering the spoiler-filled section. So let's start with the spoiler-free review. Let's start with the usual, the simple question. Diana, did you like it?
This one's a weird one for me because I think it is an impeccably made movie that's really great. Like, I think it is a great movie, and I only kind of liked it. So I think this might be a real, not quite for Diana's, but but it's an incredible film. It's an incredible accomplishment. It looks stunning in every single regard in terms of just cinematography, directing, costumes, set pieces, the desert they're in, the worlds they create looks absolutely incredible. The story does build. It's a little too slow paced for me. There's not a lot of urgency or a lot of charm. I think we lost a lot of the energy enthusiastic characters in the first movie. And I will say, I think we probably should have watched Dune 1 again right before, because this does feel like you should watch them back to back. And I think the 2-year gap doesn't help. So I will say that. But it's wonderfully well made. It's an incredible movie. And I was just this is fine. I wasn't super engaged and I didn't love any particular part, but it's so gorgeous that you can just forgive everything. And it feels like Dune. I feel like this is Dune. I feel like Villeneuve was still Dune. Still doing Dune. So yeah, it's a and I wish it was a love because I'm watching it and I'm I don't know what's not to love and I don't love it and I wish I did. But I don't really have any complaints at the same time, a whole lot. So those are my weird feelings on Dune Part 2. And I'm really excited for your feelings. I remember you loved 1. So Andrew, how did you feel about Dune Part 2?
I'm similar to you. I'm a little bit higher. I really liked it. I didn't love it. Mm-hmm. I didn't love it as much as I loved Part 1.
You loved Part 1.
I agree with you. I certainly respect this movie. I think that everything succeeds in what it's attempting to do. It's beautiful. Its visual language and style is incredible. I agree it does drag a little bit. And it is, I would say, the one thing that I felt while watching is that I'm I don't love this like I loved Part 1, mm-hmm. but it almost feels like I could learn to love you. It's something where it's an acquired taste. You're not going to appreciate everything that it brings to the table on the first view. It's almost a film that it's a shame that we're discussing it opening weekend, that mm-hmm. it needs kind of a little bit more time. to germinate in your head and let you think about it and be absorbed. So this is something that I'm like, maybe on a rewatch, if I watched 1 and 2, I do agree it feels like it's probably better consumed as one cohesive back-to-back story rather than a two-parter. So I'm very curious to see, like, if I were to rewatch this 1 and 2, maybe at home down the road, is it an acquired taste that'll step up to a love? But as it is right now, it's still a high like. It's something that I respect the hell out of. It is high art. It's visually incredible. There's some phenomenal performances in here, some great action set pieces, and then it just drags a little.
Yeah, I think.
And I would say that, like, this was also kind of a thing that I discussed in the first one, and this is just kind of a general criticism of that type of fiction, is that I have no idea what the Bene Gesserit are doing at any given time. It is nonsense to me, and I feel like there's a level of insecurity that I have in admitting that. I am going to say this. Well, we didn't read the books,
no.
So we're not deep in Dune lore, and I'm gonna just admit this. I don't know if I totally get it. The Bene Gesserit section of it.
Oh, just the Bene Gesserit.
There's a lot of it I get, but there is a chunk of this where I'm like, it feels embarrassing to admit on episode 400 and something of a film analysis podcast where I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like some of this got lost on me a little bit. And that might be on me. It might be on the film. I'm not entirely sure.
Hey, we're not doing 400 episodes on Dune. This is only our second episode on Dune, and we haven't read the books. And I think it's a valid criticism to say that you're like, I don't know, I didn't quite get it. But I also totally get what you're saying about, like, a second viewing. I'm reminded about how, like, Rogue One is a better movie every time you watch it. Rogue One always sticks in my head of like, wow, that was a movie I was very mid on, and now I absolutely love. And it does feel like, yes, I think the emotional resonance would pull through much better on a back-to-back viewing. And I think a second viewing would also be like, maybe I get the Bene Gesserit now.
Yeah.
Or maybe I understand this prophecy and Paul's hesitation and what's going on here a little bit better. Like, yeah, I do think second viewings would help, but I also don't have a lot of urge to watch this again. I do actually have an urge to watch 1 again, and I'm sad we didn't have time to before we hopped this in.
I agree, but isn't that true of all acquired tastes?
You're not going to want to watch it
There's
again.
no urge for the second one, but if you keep, for some reason, if whatever the reason might be, you revisit it, you can acquire that taste. It's the first time you have an alcoholic drink, and you're like, I don't get it. And I don't feel the urge to figure out how to get it. But if somehow we're peer pressure or just social life, you keep at it, eventually you're like, I actually enjoy this thing. Maybe it's that's what all acquired tastes are. You don't feel the urge to go back and consume it. If you felt that means that it was
wasn't
just
acquired.
It was just a taste. It was
just
a
a
taste
taste.
you had right away.
It was yummy immediately.
Yes.
No. But yeah, you need a Dune friend who's going to be like, no, I've seen it 4 times and it's better every time or something. You need a person. And I hope maybe we have a person out there who's not going to see it 4 times on opening weekend or something.
Sure.
But someone who like watched the first one again right in a row and got kind of like the little more out of it.
Yeah, I do think it's very good. I would recommend people see it in theaters.
If you liked 1, you're going to like 2.
And
it feels wildly cohesive.
Absolutely. And I'm going to watch it again, just probably once it's available at home. I don't think I'll make the visit to the theater again, which is kind of a mark of a true love, is to like, I'm going to go buy a ticket again. And can it be spoiled?
I mean, can it? Not like accidentally. Not unless you already know Dune pretty well. I mean, it follows the book pretty well. You already know everyone from book 1, from movie 1. Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah, I think kind of not really. It's not. There are a few kind of like twists and turns. I would say like a few story beats and tonal choices that I'm like, as someone who didn't read the book, I'm like, I actually didn't quite expect it to go here. So I would give it like a mild spoil, like an emotional tonal spoil, where I didn't expect the second half of the film to kind of have the energy that it had.
Okay, maybe I just didn't think it could be spoiled, even though I haven't read the books. I'm like, maybe I just remember the Lynch version too well, because I was like, I think I saw a lot of this coming.
Yeah.
Despite my lack of book.
And despite it being a different interpretation to a large degree. But the broad brushstrokes that are
like,
in both.
That guy's Sting.
Yes. Austin Butler is Sting.
Yes, Austin Butler's playing Sting. That's how it works.
That's it. That's the transitive property.
I'm not going to be able to pronounce his character name, so he's playing Sting.
He's playing Sting. He's Austin Butler. Don't worry about it. He's playing Sting.
He's Sting or he's Elvis. Those are his two options.
Don't worry about it. Well, all right. So I think we're on a similar wavelength.
I think we're on a very similar wavelength.
I liked it a little more than you. I think it could be pushed into a love on a rewatch. You liked and respected it.
I respect the hell out of it.
Respect the hell out of it. And a no to very mild spoiler.
Excellent. We've covered all our bases here. Legally, we're sound.
Boom. Stamp it. Gavel, it is done. Now let's get into the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk more about Dune Part 2.
Doing it.
All right, we have seen Dune Part 2 where Austin Butler plays Sting.
That's not even like the main part of the movie.
No, it's not.
But it always sticks in my head. I mean, Sting and Lynch always sticks in my head, and then Austin Butler was a big part of like the campaign of this one.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is like
Sting
hair.
Sting is very memorable from that Dune, and Austin Butler does stand out in this one. You know what? Let's start with him. Oddly enough,
I'm happy to start with him.
I want to throw out, I think he rocks the shit in this. It is crazy.
I think he's really good in this. I'm one of the weirdos who liked Elvis as well. So I'm like, Austin Butler's doing great, you guys.
I am worried that I'm like, is your career now going to be making wild accent and dialect choices? Because in this movie, he's playing the nephew of the Duke, played by Stellan Skarsgård. And Austin Butler is doing I'm going to say like, pinpoint accurate impression of Stellan Skarsgård to the point that I thought they were, for a moment, I was like, did they have Stellan Skarsgård ADR and replace your lines? I can't tell which one of you. There was one moment where one of them was talking, but both of them had their back to the screen. And I'm like, I don't know which one of you is talking. You have nailed this dude's voice to an eerie extent.
I have the exact same note written down. I have, did Austin Butler say these lines or did Stellan Skarsgård say them? Considering how all in this guy seems to go as a method actor, I'm going to say he just studied Stellan's speech patterns from the first one. He was like, well, I'm his nephew, so I sound the exact same.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not the most interesting choice, but it's an impressive choice.
A very impressive choice.
And it's an impressive choice that also fits the character because, Stellan Skarsgård character has two sons, but Austin Butler is more like him than Dave Bautista is.
Well, I think Austin Butler is his son and Bautista is his nephew, if I remember correctly, but I might be getting those details a little. One of them's nephew. I don't know if both of them are nephew.
Oh, I think they're both nephew.
They might both be nephew, but either way
they're
he
both
clearly
related.
takes after the Duke more.
Yeah, so he was like,
I'm
the one who's more like the Baron, so I'm going to be exactly like him tonally. And it's wildly impressive. And also, he's just scary and cool.
Yeah, he plays it really well. Yeah, the physicality he brings to it, the intensity, the look, the vibes of it all, but that voice, it is shock. Considering that there are, I think, 14 Skarsgårds who are professional actors that they could have had do this job.
Quite a few Skarsgårds around.
The fact that they got a not legally a Skarsgård to be more Skarsgård than most Skarsgårds, it's upsetting how excellent a performance and a tonality that he brings to that.
Skarsgård is a name that really fits this world.
Yeah.
I feel like we almost should call him Baron Skarsgård.
Baron Skarsgård.
It fits the world really well.
Yeah, so he does a phenomenal job. I just immediately wanted to give credit to Austin Butler because that's fantastic.
I can't wait to listen to interviews and find out if he's kept that accent like he did with Elvis.
He couldn't get out of it.
I couldn't get out of the Harkonnen.
He's officially a Skarsgård now. He's been adopted.
You never know. I think he still sounds like Elvis. Also, Stellan is also incredible in this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was incredible in the first one, and he just continues on. This performance of just laid back, scary, and kind of, how do I want to say this? Inactive in a way that's terrifying, kind of Jabba the Hutt-esque.
Yeah.
I'm so scary that I don't even have to move. I have that much power.
And they've given him almost this Kingpin-esque, I'm large but muscular, but not a bodybuilder, but I am inhumanly large. Like I float in the air with weird balloons hooked through pumps. I don't know what half of his machinery is doing most of the time. But yeah, it's that level of like I'm Jabba the Hutt meets the Kingpin. I'm wildly inactive and jacked.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Because, yeah, it's like, well, normally, like, someone Kingpin size is like, I carry around my own weight, so of course I'm jacked. But if you're not carrying around your own weight, it's like, how do you get strong?
He's
but
juicing.
also, he's the oil.
The oil.
He's got the essential oils.
Whatever. Essential oils are so essential.
He's bathing in them. He is constantly draped in the essential oils of murdering.
Yeah. And he brings, a powerful, strong energy to this. And one thing that I really like, this is kind of to take that and expand it out to like a broader picture thing, is that everyone who is scary, everyone who is like imposing or powerful or a warrior or politically powerful, I like how quickly they turn into chumps contextually. I think that there is something so real about that, and I really like that. Like the Baron being this absolutely terrifying man sitting in tar, telling serial killers what to do, scaring Dave Bautista away, like just like a scary, terrifying man. And then the Emperor shows up, who is Christopher Walken, who is not an imposing man. It's just like, cut his balloons. He's nothing now. Let him crawl towards the throne. This guy's pathetic. And how quickly that switches, and even like some of the Bene Gesserit who are like speaking to the Emperor, how the Emperor flips into a nothing, how everyone is only contextually a badass. And I think there's something very real about that, to be like, no one is actually intimidating forever. There's always someone more politically powerful or physically powerful, and there is only a thread of a moment between you and failure, and then you're nothing. And I think that they do that consistently with every character, and that feels very real and gritty, and in a way that I really enjoy.
I do like when they do that. I agree. I don't like when movies are like, this guy is untouchable. I'm like, I bet I could shoot him with a gun. I bet he could just be gun killed. And that's always like a thing that bothers me, unless you're like some kind of immortal, superpowered character.
Sure.
Then I'm like, yeah, you can still just be killed with stuff. Stop being so like, nothing could ever kill me. I'll slightly disagree though, because about like every character, because I think the characters who actually believe in something don't break and aren't turned into clumps of nothing. Like that one Fremen woman who gets like killed by Austin Butler but never breaks. She's like on her knees and she's about to be like burned alive, but she's still strong.
Okay, yeah.
And like, Paul doesn't break. I would even say even Austin Butler's character, who believes in himself, just never like falls apart in the face of someone stronger than him.
Right.
But like definitely, people who don't have like actual beliefs and just want power will just crumble.
Yeah, the power hungry.
The power hungry will crumble.
Power hungry. Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That distinction.
That's a very interesting observation. I like that the people with belief cannot be broken, but the people whose only belief is a system, the system can fail them, and then they have nothing left.
Yeah, but the people who believe in like themselves and each other can always stay strong and hold themselves up.
Interesting.
So this is my deep analysis of Dune Part 2.
I really like that.
Thank you.
I think that's excellent and strong. I will say on the subject of performances, let's kind of keep the train going. Well, first of all, there's not a bad performance in the bunch. I don't think there's not a bad. No one drops the ball, in any particular way.
I can't think of one. I mean, I'm scrolling through and I'm like, no, good. I mean, some of them are like nothing in a way that's not bad.
Sure.
Like I've never seen Christopher Walken do less.
This is a very restrained Walken.
He's sitting most of the time, not walking.
I mean, to the point where one of his scenes is Florence Pugh as the princess narrating and being like, and what my father said was nothing. And that is the point, but it is just an image of Christopher Walken sitting. And that is the point of that scene. But yes, it's rare to see Walken do so little.
Yeah, and he's not doing a bad job, because even her character says like, my father's been very inactive in this war, so he's not supposed to be super engaged. But I'm also just like, why do you hire Walken then?
Yeah,
what a waste of Walken.
It is.
You seen him in Severance lately? He's
bebopping and scatting he's having a great time. I agree with that.
No bad performance.
A performance that fits the writing and that particular role, but it's just not something that needed to be elevated or does get elevated. I think Timothée Chalamet does a phenomenal job of a character turn in this, because I think he was good casting as Paul in the first one, where I'm like, you are portraying this like you are portraying like the son in the shadow of a big figure, the revenge, the falling in love, finding a new identity. Like there is a journey that you are going on as a like, can I, will I, what I? A very questioning yourself.
New questions. What am
I? What I is not grammatically correct.
I think he's asking it.
He's asking what I to the point where he now has like 9 names. He's a what I.
That is an identity crisis in and of itself.
A true-on identity crisis. But then towards the end of this movie, we get him kind of mad on the water of life, the essence of life. I forget what they call it. The water of life.
I want to say that.
Kind of mad and now like fully being this prophet figure and yelling and screaming and being, frankly, pretty fucking scary. And he plays that turn really well, which is not something that I expected Timothée Chalamet to be able to like physically embody, but he's imposing and he's scary and he plays that switch really strongly, I think.
He does play the switch really strongly, and I would actually like to compliment his restraint, because it means that he had to go through the entire first movie and half of this movie kind of doing like a really pulled back Paul. Like a Paul who doesn't feel weak, but he doesn't feel like they call it the voice whenever you mind control someone in Dune. So like, but he's not a guy who uses the voice and like hits people with it. So he had to wait a movie and a half to be like, and now I've got the voice and I control people and I'm strong and I'm actually a leader. But I still have to seem strong before this turn.
I still have to show the potential of strength, restrained strength.
The restrained strength he is showing for the first movie and a half is incredible. I do think he's very, very good in this. Like his internal struggle of like, I can't go south because of the visions I've seen and it'll cause terrible stuff. And like he has to be persuaded to go south. And then the tragedy of Zendaya being like, fuck, I persuaded him to go south and now this has gone badly for me specifically. Mm-hmm. He is really embodying this whole story, and he is. I understand why the people who believe follow him, and I understand why the people who don't believe follow him.
Yeah.
And I feel the power in the turn, and it's earned. It's a very earned, and he's not a villain turn, but it is like a power-hungry turn.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a character turn.
It is the Anakin turn that could have been, that level of like, but the writing does a really good job, and he does a great job performance wise of that restrained authority, restrained power, the like whether or not it's false, the humility that he brings to the character, which is something that like Javier Bardem's character kind of talks about, to be like, he's so humble. Of course he's the prophet. And that's a hilarious subplot as well, that there's no way to get the stink of prophet off of Paul, that Paul's like, I am not. And it's like, the prophet would say that. So humble, so kind, so sweet. But his restraint to be like, I'm not trying to be the prophet. I want to stand next to you. I don't want to fight. I don't want you to fight for me. I want to fight with you as one of you. And just how he says it softly and then follows it up and actually does it. And you see core competencies with kindness and with curiosity and fairness. So yeah, you believe why everyone follows him. And then when he starts yelling, you believe why a room fucking listens as well. And yeah, I just never thought I would see the point in watching Dune 1. I didn't think I would find a point in this franchise where I would see him turn around and yell at Josh Brolin, and my sincere internal reaction would be like, Josh Brolin, get the fuck out of there. You do not want this dude yelling at you right now.
This guy's gonna kill you.
Josh Brolin's his trainer, and like a dude who like survived the fall of the House of Atreides and is now like a pirate and this like survivalist badass Han Solo type of figure. And I'm like, you do not want this guy yelling at you. Like it's a real powerful switch. Chalamet brings.
He does an incredible job. And I mean, I haven't seen Chalamet in anything else.
Okay.
But like, you just don't expect it from him, no matter what. You're looking at this dude. He's Willy Wonka. He's Paul.
Yeah.
You don't expect him to like a room of like it was millions of people. And they were all like, yeah, Paul. Or he got him.
Yeah.
It was up there with like Morpheus's speech in 2 or 3 Matrix. I don't know which one it was.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then similar as well, I would say like that Zendaya and Rebecca Ferguson as well, with Chani and Jessica, do a really good job of their kind of switches midway through the movie. Of Chani in particular, of like, I know you don't want to go do the thing, but you need to go do the thing. Oh shit, you did the thing. I don't like that you did the thing. This is looking really fucking bad.
Yeah, she goes on a really nice journey that does kind of like double back on itself, but is also like understandable and just feels like a real person. Like some people in this movie are like kind of not stereotypes, but like archetypes.
Yeah.
But Chani is like, no, I'm just a real woman in love who's trying to save her people and do her best. And things are working and some things aren't. And like Zendaya really like makes her feel real. And you can tell like she's conflicted about stuff. And she's also maybe mildly in love. I didn't feel like she was actually super in love, to be totally honest. But they also even like talk about that. She's like, because Paul calls her out like 2/3 of the way through the movie that you still don't trust me. And she's like, well, no, you're a foreigner and I don't know what your actually intentions are. And she was kind of right to guard her heart that way.
Yeah.
But like her performance is like pretty good. It's not my favorite Zendaya.
Oh, okay.
I will say. Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just I like cute stuff too much. So I'm like, you and Tom Holland are like cute.
Right.
And you and Paul have like a darker, more serious path in front of you. But I still don't find you very cute together.
And I'm fine with that. I like that I like that it doesn't make that full switch. It's love on it's love on a dimmer switch rather than a full on off light switch. And I actually kind of prefer that, to be like, it is off and it gets turned up to maybe 70% before things start to go awry, which feels more of a like love in a time of war type of thing, to be like, yeah, of course you're still going to be somewhat guarded and then you turn out right to be so. But to be like, maybe under the right circumstances, it's the idea of like what this could have been, I find actually so much more powerful than it ever fully getting there. So I think rather than like them being like, and we want, oh, what if we didn't go to war and we ran away together, rather than having those conversations, but just instead having conversations of like, we got to be good at war. And also I like you a good bit, but also this is messed up. I think that feels way more lived in a way that I enjoy. And I think Zendaya brings a good performance to that.
I think she brings a good performance. This might just be another example of what I said off the top of like, some of this movie is just not for Diana's. Like, I will never be fully in love with two people who don't feel like they get more relaxed around each other.
I understand.
Like, to me, that's a love story. You can actually drop your walls down. You actually do feel comforted and more relaxed when you're with someone. And even though they're side by side and I feel like they maybe trust each other, it doesn't feel to me like they ever really need each other in a super amount. And also, I do think even in the middle of war, you can be kind of cute. You can be like, your still suit's on backwards. Or like, there has to be a moment of relief.
Yeah.
Because I do think they lost all of their relief characters in the beginning. Like, Jason Momoa is sorely missed.
Yes, Jason Momoa is sorely missed. Oscar Isaac as well played it really charming.
Who was serious but charming and like loving. Because they even say in this movie, they're like, he was weak because he loved so much. And I'm like, he wasn't. But
Javier Bardem as Stilgar does bring a little bit of charm to it.
He's
a little
so
bit of charm.
good.
Yeah.
He's so good. I feel like Javier Bardem is like carrying this Messiah storyline in a really nice way of like showing like all the people, and he does bring this nice little bit of energy and charm and humor every now and then.
Yeah, the storyline does not work without him carrying the believability. Like and like lines we were mentioning a moment ago, the like, of course the prophet would say he's not the prophet. He's so humble.
He sells it so hard.
The wrong person delivering that line or that line being skipped, it becomes it no longer makes sense the way or why people just naturally and organically believe in him, believe in Paul, you know?
Yeah, because I believe Stilgar is respected. I believe Stilgar is a great warrior. I believe he's very intelligent. So for him to like fully be in on Paul and really sell like his beliefs and in the performance and still be like charming and likable, it's like, well, maybe I should follow Paul because Stilgar seems right. I believe more in Stilgar than I do in Paul in the first half of this movie. So yeah, he's great. He might be my favorite performance in the movie.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think I'm still going for Chalamet.
You're still going for Chalamet?
I think, yeah, Butler does a great voice. Javier Bardem brings a wonderful charm, but Chalamet, just like the switch then turn that he brings to the character is still it. But I understand this movie needs that charm and could in fact probably even benefit from a bit more of it.
Yeah, because when Josh Brolin shows up, there's a little bit more again.
A touch.
He has like a little bit at least like of a different energy than the Fremen. The Fremen are all like kind of the same tone for a lot of it, but then he shows up and he's just like, I just want to kill the Harkonnens. I just want to do that. I don't care about the spice. I don't care about the worms. I don't care about the water. I just want to kill the Harkonnens.
Yeah, yeah. And he's the only pragmatist among the bunch as well, where it's like the Fremens, it's like you either believe in the prophet or maybe you don't believe in the prophet, or you believe in Paul as a leader or you don't believe. They're very much like they're following their hearts. But even moments where it is Zendaya as Chani getting kind of like mad at Paul now, and everyone's bowing to Paul, and she is still standing. And Josh Brolin's character, Gunny, is it? Gurney. Josh Brolin's character of Gurney just being like, sit the fuck down. When a room full of people, sit down, sit down. And it's not him being like, sit down and kneel to your prophet. It's him being like, you've got to learn to read a room and survive. When people kneel and you're the only one standing, you kneel. When people stand and you're the only one kneeling, you stand. And that is, I think, also a very needed character in that scenario. The pragmatist who's just kind of like, I don't know any of this shit, but I know how to read a fucking room.
Yeah, I know how to get out of a room alive. I'm a survivalist. I'm the only one other than Paul that survived the attack on House Atreides. Mm-hmm. So, like, I know how to escape a room alive. I'm going to keep you alive. And then if you have something to say that you wanted to stand up for and not kneel, we'll work it out later.
Yeah. Figure this out later.
You're going to have a meeting later with Paul, one-on-one. Now's not the time.
This is a problem for your tent that you need to bring to your tent later.
This is tent energy.
Yeah. You're bringing couple energy to the political party right now, and we're going to need you to wrap that up and save it for the tent.
Yeah. The tribal leaders do not care that he said he loved you as long as he could breathe. Not relevant to the tribal leaders in this moment. Mm-hmm. No, it's breaking your heart that he's going for power.
You want to bring it up in the tent. That's your tent.
That's your tent.
That's your tent.
But he might be getting a separate tent.
We might
with
be.
the Empress, it seems.
Yeah, that's complicated.
Ouch.
That kind of that hurts. That comes out of nowhere, I feel. But
can we go back a little bit?
Of course, we can go anywhere now.
I wanted to talk about the Harkonnens when we were on Austin Butler. I wanted to talk about their world. Because, like, we've talked about the acting, but just, like, and there's world building because there's Dune, but Dune's real. Like, Dune's just a planet that's a desert. Like, I've been to a desert. The Harkonnen world is so new and different and interesting.
The black sun?
A black sun, which is why you're all wildly pale and have no hair and are just, like, just a little bit inhuman. You're not aliens, but you're just that little bit inhuman. And, like, all the touches in this world of like almost everything's black, but still like very legible. Like you can still see everything that's happening. It's not just a black void. At one point they shot fireworks and the fireworks are like oil.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is my favorite small detail in a world building ever. Like, because you guys are obsessed with oil, or at least the Baron is, and he's probably in charge of the fireworks. So the oil fireworks just blew me away, even though like they weren't beautiful. It was just such a good idea.
It was haunting, and just a world that exists in black and white. Like whatever this literally whatever this black star is I think like the idea is that like it absorbs the colored light spectrum. Makes sense. This is a world that only exists in black and white. And then even just the interesting, like obviously aesthetically as a filmmaker, that then creates the like we have black and white kind of filmic segments, which stands out visually and is a very different style and a saturation. And it looks cool. But then even little details like on the Harkonnen world, interior shots that use artificial light sources have color.
Suddenly there's just a little bit of red in your skin and you're not quite as pale.
Yeah. And like flat out, like the costumes have color, or even when it cuts to the POV of Say Ledoux's character, one of the Bene Gesserit or whatever, like looking through her binoculars, and the readout is blue. So it's like colors do exist in this world, but just not in daylight because their daylight doesn't have colored light spectrum. And it's just this little like that beautiful conflux where everything comes together in science fiction, where it is the science gobbledygook combines with the fiction of a universe, which combines with a dynamic visual style, which combines then with character motivation and backstory of these people. And it's that beautiful symmetry, that center of the Venn diagram where it's like, oh, yes, everything motivated everything else in this perfect little window.
Yeah, it's a perfectly reasonable world to exist, and it looks so cool, and you've explained why it looks cool and how everything happens. It's one of those things in a movie that always blows me away, because, like, this movie isn't set on Harkonnen. This movie isn't about the Harkonnen world. Like, we're there for maybe 10 minutes, and it's the most interesting thing I've ever seen. It's like, wow. So, like, when a small detail is so interesting and had to have so much work put into it, I'm just so blown away.
And without being over-explained.
No.
Like, we've extrapolated everything that is necessary entirely from visual language. No one had to come out and be like, here's how the light bulbs work on Harkonnen. No one had
No
to...
tungsten on Harkonnen.
Yeah. So it's just this beautiful moment of, like, the visual language tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, so that was that. I didn't really want to leave the Harkonnen world. Like, I was like, I've seen plenty of deserts. Please let me go back to Harkonnen.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for any of these guys, but their world is so cool looking.
The world is very cool. And even though the desert can get perhaps a little bit monotone and monochromatic, which is definitely like the point of that world, from a visual standpoint, the costuming everywhere. Like, you know, you can go back to Arrakis and, like, yeah, it's a lot of sand, but then it's like every costume, this kind of like beehive reflection that the glass on their helmets have for some of the Emperor's army, just like the way that they float and kind of like go up the cliffside.
The anti-gravity floating is just beautiful.
Gorgeous stuff, top to bottom.
Yeah, the Fremen just still suits that are just like just a little bit like nicer and weathered, but like they look like armor, but they also look practical. Yeah, everything looks cool. All the cool outfits that they put all the Bene Gesserit in, and like Florence Pugh, who's wearing like kind of like Princess Amidala level like weird stuff without being too weird.
Yeah, they went full on like she's never wearing the same thing twice, and we're going absolutely fucking bananas with her.
Yeah. Her wardrobe's insane for a character who could not be here if she didn't want to be.
And they were right to do so.
Yes,
they were right to do so.
It makes it so interesting, and every scene like visually pops, and you're like, what's this look? You got little blades on your veil. Veil blades. Holy shit.
That's fucking awesome.
Oh, man. It makes me think you're going to fight, but you don't. But other than that, it is a little misleading to have veil blades
in that.
when you're not a fighter.
I understand. But looks incredible.
Yeah.
Looks so cool.
Every outfit in this,
Every
visual aspect of this film is incredible.
Impeccable.
Let's be real.
Impeccable. Yeah. Every lighting choice, every costume choice, every aesthetic choice. The score and the music is just a beautiful composition that really hits every time it needs to hit. It sounds good. It looks good. There's just vibe-wise, stylistically and tonally, everything hits. It's no failures.
I have one.
Oh, lay it on me.
I have one very small thing that bothered me in like 3 fight scenes.
Ooh.
I did not find that Villeneuve was particularly good at making it clear in fight scenes who was fighting and which side we were currently going for.
Oh, okay.
There was one fight scene, and it was like a long shot one, like a group fight scene, and we're in like a long one take, and I was like, oh, this is Paul. And then the camera panned around, and it was Zendaya. And I was like, oh, oops. That doesn't feel like a mistake I should be able to make.
Yeah.
Even though the still suits cover everything except their face, so if you never turn around, you don't know who it is.
And also, that was a scene where like she was in battle armor. It was even different from the regular still suit as well. It's like a different still suit.
But like he did not do a great job at establishing who was about to go into a fight and like centering a main character in a fight.
I understand. That is one that I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, because it happens multiple times where I'm like, is it meant to be like battles are chaotic and actually like we're trying to show that there are no good sides in war as much in the way that we're trying to show like the turning of these characters, that everyone is just manipulating one another into unnecessary wars that never needed to happen to begin with. To be like, it's all just the same soldiers fighting the same soldiers for no fucking reason at all. Is it meant to be like it's chaos and we're all the same? Is that purposeful? Because I also feel like when Gurney is kind of like taking the steps, that one where like Josh Brolin has the squad, and
that ruled.
That's cool. The lighting's cool. It's really cool. But it is another one where it's like, it's visually easier to follow because it is his character moving left to right across the screen, which is just easier visually to follow, to be like, the right side of the screen is the good place to go. That means that the character's winning. If someone pushes him back left, it means the character's losing. And it's easier to follow him, but all of the war costumes and battle costumes do look pretty similar, and they get kind of visually lost. But that happening multiple times in one film tells me maybe that's the point. But I agree with you, it's not super dynamic for following one particular character or feeling what one particular character is feeling.
I get what you're saying. I feel like this isn't the movie for that, like, everyone on the battlefield is the same, especially when one group is a colonizer group and one group is, like, the indigenous people. It's like, obviously the indigenous people, guys.
Yeah.
The people who are already here get to win the fight.
Yeah.
That's who we root for. And also, like, Harkonnens are assholes. They don't
Yes.
even have dogs.
Yeah.
How do you not like dogs?
How do you not like dogs? I think that I agree with you. Up until this point, it is like, well, the Fremen are the good ones. They are the ones being colonized, and now it's like they're being manipulated into this holy war where they're about to go out into the stars and kind of fight everyone. And it's like, I think that, like, we're ending on a note of the winner of wars become the perpetrator of wars.
That's totally fair. That's legit.
And where it's like you're colonizing for resources, so you went to war, and that is bad. And then you won that war and you continued colonizing, which is bad. Then they fought back, and now we're starting a holy war to move their religion across the universe, and that's bad. So it's the winner of a war will perpetrate a war. I think, but it ends as we're learning. But so I agree
fair.
that
No,
lesson is not as hammered as the Harkonnens are quite bad.
No, you make a great point that does eventually become the lesson, because it's not like they take back Arrakis and they're like, and we're done. We got the planet back. They are going to go into the stars, attack the greater families.
Yeah.
Go out too much.
Yeah.
Except for Chani, who was like, took her sandworm Uber home.
And Uber home, which is the right thing to do, because the way to end these problems, I'm sure that there is some, like, book lore, more specific reason as to why you can't do that, would be to just completely follow through on the threat that Paul made at the end of the movie, which is, if you attack, we're going to completely destroy the spice mines, and then there'll be no more spice mines, and there will be no more intergalactic travel, because that's what they use to fuel ships.
Yeah.
So literally, with the push of one button, they can make everyone go home and end intergalactic war. But that's not what, at this point, they've acquired enough power, and power corrupts absolutely, as well as actual drugs or whatever the fuck Paul is on and tripping on at this point. But it is not enough to take back your home planet. You have to take more than was taken from you.
Yeah. Absolute power, and the power to see the future will corrupt pretty, seems pretty accurate future.
It's bad.
It's bad.
You shouldn't see the future. We're not meant to see that.
Is that why Madam Web was bad?
That was the problem.
You know what? For Dune to have successfully done a Madam Web, pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive now when you think about it.
Because Madam Web didn't see the future super well.
I want to Photoshop Madam Web into the background of one of the scenes of this.
She's a Bene Gesserit.
She's there. Yeah, she's one of the Bene Gesserit.
Gesserit.
Of course.
She's got her big glasses. She's in her wheelchair. I think it works.
Now this brings me to the Bene Gesserit.
We must Bene Gesserit.
May we Bene Gesserit?
What's Benny?
I have no idea what these fucks want from anything. It kind of makes sense. There's a touch of a story that has been told before and that does make sense here, which is the whole, like, we will survive the rise and fall of empires because we're not the king, we're the advisors to the king. When you advise the seat, you don't advise the person, you advise the seat. So the ruler can fall and a new ruler can take its place, and we'll always have job security and we'll always be safe because we're not the person in the seat, we're the person next to the seat.
I love that you've nailed this with just job security. I think we're done. I think
It's
the Bene
job
Gesserit are like, we need a pension plan, we need job security.
We want the highest possible job that maintains job security without the threat of being murdered to take our job. And that's exactly what the Bene Gesserit
Low
are.
risk, high reward, Bene Gesserit.
And they have legitimate magical powers.
They do have, they are basically, I think of them as Jedi. Most
They're
of the
Jedi.
time.
They are, that is another point that I want to make, that they are the exact version of what in Star Wars the Empire tries to convince everyone the Jedi Council are.
Oh, yeah.
They are the exact evil version of the Jedi.
The Jedi whisper into the ears of politicians and try to make them sign trade treaties.
Emperor Palpatine is like, these are people who are not in elected positions, who advise every elected official, and when the elected official leaves, they remain as an advisor, and they can convince you to do things with their words. That's an actual magic power they have. This is a bad idea. They're conspiring against us. And the Jedi Council was not, but the Bene Gesserit are exactly them. But they're conspiring too much. They're like, we've got someone we're grooming in every house. So no matter who takes the throne, will have the power. It's like, but you already have it. You're destabilizing your own power. You've planted so many prophecies that they're canceling each other out. It reminds me of there's an episode of Community, the conspiracy theory episode.
It's such a good episode.
Where the dean decides to join every conspiracy. And at one point, Annie has to lie to him. Annie is yelling at him and says, if you conspire with everyone, you're not actually conspiring to do anything. You're just doing a bunch of random favors for people. And that's where the Bene Gesserit are at this point, where I'm like, I don't know. You've conspired too much. It's a snake eating its own tail. Why are there this many conspiracies?
You're right about everything. Love the Jedi analogies. The only thing I think they said this in the movie, and I think I might have read it in like the half of the book I read. I'm such a reader. Hold your applause.
It's a big book.
Mm-hmm. I think the goal of the Bene Gesserit is power, and I also think they are trying to like make what Paul is. I think they were trying to make a super Jedi.
Uh-huh.
And that's like, so that's why they control who has sex with who like has babies. Like Jessica, Paul's mom, was actually supposed to have a daughter.
Yeah.
But Oscar Isaac asked for a son, and she was like, "You're so cute," and I get it. I've seen Oscar Isaac.
And they can will the gender of their child.
Like they can change poison in their body, so yeah, they can will the gender of their child.
Okay.
And then I think the daughter in her now is like what they really, really want. Like that's their end goal. They want a superpower Bene Gesserit. Mm-hmm. So they've kind of been like manipulating just genetics and families to try to make super babies. But then I don't know what they want that for. Like, you've already got all this power. You're absolutely right. You're like, you're controlling the universe. What's the end game here?
Yeah, yeah. And
like, people who want power just want more power, I guess. But, like, they're acting like they're like, we've got plans.
But what exactly?
You're just maintaining what you've made.
And also, you can legitimately see the future.
I actually think most of them can't. That's why Paul's special.
Oh, okay.
No, Paul's special, and then the mom couldn't until she drank the stuff either.
Oh, okay.
So, like, they can't see the future. They can predict a little bit, and like that's why they're moving all these chess pieces, and they want to make prophecies, but they actually, which is weird though, because then the prophecies do come true. So someone must be able to tell the
Someone
future.
must be able to tell the future.
You know what? I've talked myself around because like the prophecies about Paul are absolutely true.
And there is no benefit to like this idea of like we're trying to create the ultimate being. Mm-hmm. I understand, okay, if you create the ultimate being, maybe you can control the ultimate being and you can get ultimate power. But you already have, like, if you are sitting next to the emperor and telling the emperor what to do, and you run every family that is in charge of everything in the galaxy, at what point are you like, maybe if we make one baby that's so powerful it can kill all of us, that will be a net positive for us?
This is what I think whenever I see someone like summon a devil or a demon, and I'm like, no, don't do that. It's just gonna kill. It's got way more power than you, and it's gonna kill you, and you can't control it. There's never a good ending here.
No,
you want to make a super baby that's just gonna be like, well, fuck all you people.
And like at least in other stories, when people summon a demon or something, it's usually people with no power.
Yeah, they're like, I want power.
Who are like, I would like some. It's not someone who who is like also a devil, summoning another the devil to just double devil.
What if I had a new fresh devil?
Yeah.
Double A.
It just it doesn't make the Bene Gesserit. They've got too much shit, and the whole like, well, we ordered the Harkonnens to kill the Atreides. So we plotted that. Mm-hmm. We wanted the Harkonnens to destroy House Atreides for reasons. Mm-hmm. But then we wanted the Harkonnens to be destroyed by the leftover Atreides Paul, kind of.
Yeah.
But we do also have a backup plan of a Harkonnen we can rise to the throne. It's like, Just let someone get promoted. Also, you're already it doesn't make any sense.
Do you remember? This is a deep cut. We used to watch Young Justice, the cartoon show, and the bad guys were the light, and they were one of those bad guys who, whenever anything went wrong, they'd be like, "That was the plan." It's fine that it went wrong. That will be great in the long term for us. It's okay. No matter what happens, that's the plan.
Everything was the plan.
Yeah, that's what the Bene Gesserit feel like.
Yes, it really does. It really does. And it reaches a point where it's like, you know, they talk about we're the planners. And there is a level of that, especially with like a political thriller with like a fantasy or like, you know, a Game of Thrones or a more science fiction element like this, where it's like, okay, you are kind of planning and manipulating several houses and there's a lot of diplomacy involved. But then there's just like little stuff where it'll be like, a rock formation got hit by lightning and fell and crushed a fake prophet. And they're like, excellent. Things are going according to plan. I'm like, there's no way.
No.
The king ate a bad sandwich for lunch. Just according to, no, that wasn't a plan. That wasn't, not everything that 2 years from now, you slip on a banana peel, that's part of the plan. Not everything's part of the plan.
I really wish you were a Bene Gesserit, like, intern, and you were just calling these bitches out all the time.
Just like, what are we doing?
No, you write down the plan, and later, when you tell me that was part of the plan, I'm gonna reference this list you gave me.
Yeah.
And it better be on here.
Write it down.
Or you're just making shit up.
In great detail.
No vague bullshit.
None of this like TV clairvoyant of, is there someone in the crowd who has a dead family member who has the name starting with D? None of that bullshit.
No, you're going to write down, we're going to kill Leto Atreides, Paul Atreides will become a messiah, the messiah will go into the stars and kill everybody. Line
Full
items.
legal names I want there.
Full legal names.
Full legal names, not like the child of the star, born on the day under a moonlight. I'm like, lots of people are born at night.
Hey,
give me a legal fucking name.
Hey, the tears of the desert spring saved Paul's life. Zendaya's actual tears.
Yeah. So
there you go.
There we go. That's kind of a nickname, but we're getting closer, Bene Gesserit. We're getting closer. I do have one question. I don't fully understand why Florence Pugh is the narrator to start this, the princess. It feels like a weird energy to open this movie on.
It does. I'm going to guess, and I know I just bragged about having read the book, but I'm going to guess that she narrates a good chunk of the book because the Empress also is the bookend of the Lynch version of Dune.
Ah, okay.
And so for both movies to be like the Empress is the narrator bookend, it must be based on something. It's not just like, I love Florence Pugh and want to give her more lines. And I do love Florence Pugh and want to give her more lines. But yeah, she's so uninvolved in the story that it is a little strange that it's not. I mean, it is like an outsider perspective. You get kind of a fair overview of what's happening. But yeah, other than that, that's my only guess because I do remember the Lynch version of Dune opens and it's like her like face in the stars, the Empress. She's like, I'm the Empress. Hello. And we're going to go across the stars. So I'm going to guess.
Book stuff. All right. Well,
everything we don't know.
Book stuff.
Which I'm sure has a very legit answer.
Both in and out of this film. Anything we don't know. Book stuff. Love it. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question now of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this movie if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, we would like to remind all of you, as we do on every episode, to please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us move up the charts, find new listeners. It encourages those new listeners to actually hit download and give us a try. It's a free way to support the show, and we really appreciate it. And thank you to anybody who's already done so.
Oh, thank you. It warms our hearts. It helps us move up the charts. We love that. If people see the reviews, they're like, oh, this podcast is new, hip, happening. They know what's going on. People like them. It really, and it's if you like us and you don't have any dollars to spare and you want to give us a hand, 5 stars on wherever you're listening to this would help us so much.
Easy way to do it. And if you do have any money in your budget and want to get cool bonuses for doing so, that's when you're going to want to head over and check out our Patreon page. At patreon.com/fromsuperheroes, we have a bunch of cool bonuses that you can sign up for depending on what your budget level is. Even if you can just kick in $1 a month, you get our webcomic early and you get some exclusives, and it's pretty awesome, and it helps support this network, and it's only $1. If you have a bit more than that, at the $3 level, you'll get these episodes early and ad-free, and whenever we talk about a new movie, we try to get this episode out ASAP, so you could be listening to this on a Thursday instead of a Monday, so you could listen to things and help make a decision as to whether or not you're going to the theater that weekend.
Yeah, we always got a spoiler-free review, and you can hear that on a Thursday to find out if you should go see Dune 2.
Yeah, so you can get $3. You can get the episodes early and ad-free as well, so you save a few minutes off the episode. It all goes smooth and breezy. And as well, at the $10 level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month, which means that this one, we recently did more Villeneuve. We did Arrival on the main. We did Sicario on the Patreon. And if you sign up at the $10 level, you also get all the previous benefits as well. So it's really cool. Lots of different options. You can check it out over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And thank you to all of our current and future patrons.
Thank you so much to our patrons.
And now let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
My change is that I don't feel like this movie, as I said, I do think you need to watch part 1 and 2 back to back. I think that helps. If I'm just watching part 2 as a standalone, I think it needs a little bit more urgency, and I think it needs a little bit more kind of emotional resonance of what we're mad about. And what I think we need is I hardly ever say this, I think we need some flashbacks or new footage from movie 1. I think we need some, one thought I had that I think would really help is Paul takes the water of life, and then he can see everything about his family, they say. He finds out his mom's a Harkonnen, which is weird. We don't really touch on that. But he finds out his mom's a Harkonnen. He can talk to his sister, who's fully alive now and a grown woman. So I would really like if during that time he saw how his father died. Because he wasn't there when Oscar Isaac died. He didn't really know how that happened. So I would love to watch him see his father die, and that would kind of reignite why we want revenge, why we're being chased down, why we're being killed. And I think he could even just have these visions kind of throughout the movie. He's having visions all the time, and he even has visions of getting told advice from Josh Brolin and old things he's been said. I just think you could have a little bit more emotional resonance if we actually stuck Oscar Isaac back in here a little bit to kind of connect into what we've lost. And also I just always want more Oscar Isaac. I have ulterior motives, but I do think it is good for the movie. I think it also makes for a better movie because at the very end when Jessica and Paul are supposed to be really affronted when the Emperor says that Oscar Isaac was weak. I would have loved to have been reminded that he wasn't recently and how much he loved his family. So I think either just flashbacks or even new footage, because he can see things now that he didn't see before, of Oscar Isaac I would love. That's my big change.
I love that. And I agree. More Oscar Isaac helps a lot of stuff. And
nothing's ever been hindered by Oscar Isaac.
He's not holding any projects back.
Never. Andrew, what would you change?
I'm on board for yours. My change would just be to give a direction to the Bene Gesserit. Because you can't be conspiring for the sake of conspiring or general power. Any number of these things would be acceptable to me. They want to bring about the death of all life in the galaxy.
Oh, no.
Maybe they're just our existence is an affront to the natural order, and we want to bring the ultimate child who's going to bring the war that literally ends all life, and we're all going to starve to death and die because we hate people. That is an evil but a motivation other than I'm conspiring for the sake of conspiring. So I think either they want peace brought to everyone or death brought to everyone. There should be a clear reason other than just because.
Okay, so you don't want them to just have a hobby of conspiring, which is what they do now.
It's just a hobby.
They just really like to do it on the weekends.
It's just a hobby. Yeah. And I enjoy some of the religious criticisms of this in this film as well. I think that they do a very powerful job of that. So I would even like it if they weren't trying to genetically engineer the ultimate star child, and they were like, that prophecy shit is some shit we said to keep you down. I would actually really like that as well, to be like, we flat out made this up. It's crazy some stuff's happening, but we did flat out make this up, and we're actually a little pissed that it's turning against us right now.
Ooh, it's very, very interesting. But yeah, they have a lot of, this movie does have really cool, interesting stuff to say about religious belief.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would like to see more of that by providing a strong and definitive and not hazy motivation to the Bene Gesserit,
Right.
to the Bene Gesserit. That's my
Andrew
big
wants
change.
that list.
I really do.
Okay, cool. I love that change. No, I'm cool with that. Yeah, just kind of some people who are just always in the shadows, but like never have a goal. Not super interesting.
No, not super
Sometimes
interesting.
they're cool. It's cool when like, you know, when like Rebecca Ferguson's like, I'm more powerful than you now, bitch.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Rebecca Ferguson rocks the shit, and that makes it cool.
Rebecca's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that does it. That does it for Dune Part 2. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Next week on the podcast, we are going to be back, and we're going to be talking about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live.
Oh my God.
The first 3 episodes we'll be talking
about.
about.
And for those who don't know, that show used to be called Rick and Michonne.
Used to be called Rick and Michonne, then it was The Walking Dead, Rick and Michonne. Now it's The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. 3 episodes is what we're covering on.
I love how we keep saying that we're done with The Walking Dead, and then they keep pulling
They
us back
keep
in.
pulling us back in, or do they? We'll see. We'll see. We're
see next
fair.
week.
We're nothing if not fair.
We're very fair.
We're nothing if not fair. So we'll see you next week. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me online most places. I am at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me at Pics of Diana on Instagram and Threads, Words of Diana on Tumblr.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes, or visit FromSuperheroes.com and check out the other podcasts, our webcomic, and everything that we have going on. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.